Welcome to Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis. Guys, my buddy Matt has this racket. It's a Speed MP. It's the same mold as Sinner's. Stay tuned. Is this on?
Harry, what are we doing here?
Oh, hey bud. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So I'm just setting up my SwingVision over here so that during our hitting session, we can, see how bad I'm doing today.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But you won't be doing bad, Harry.
No.
You'll be moving your feet, watching the ball.
This is why I love you, buddy. All right. So my buddy Matt Gross brought this racket to me to string, and I'm like, you know what racket that is? He's like, no. I was like, well, besides being 10 to 12 years old, it's the same mold as Jannick Sinner's racket. Matt normally, he's a kind of old school kind of guy. He's always looking for Wilson N blades, which are 18 by 20s. This particular MP is a 16 by 19 with the flared out shared holes. So I asked him, I was like, are you really going to play with this thing? He's like, yeah, I'm going to test it out. So I said, when you're done with it, do you mind if I borrow it and see if I make it like Sinner's, that it may feel like Sinner's racket? He's like, really? Sinner plays with this racket? I was like, I'm not 100% sure, but the mold is this one. So he said, this morning actually, here, you can take it and go ahead and Sinnerize it. So we ripped the grip off already. The strings got taken out. I'm not going to rip this head guard off until I can see if I can find a replacement. Given that this is 12 years old, that's going to be really, really difficult. So I'll have to see what I can do to the racket to make it like Sinner's. But definitely we'll do a grip. We'll do the lead probably underneath versus inside. And then we'll string it with the Hawk Touch 16 at 60 pounds. And then we'll go out and hit with it and see if it feels anything like Sinner's racket. All right, stay tuned. All right, guys, so we got Sinner's racket all custom up now. Or can I call it Sinner's racket yet? But it's the mold of Sinner's racket that we have here. And check it out. I leaded it up. I couldn't do underneath the head guard because I can't find another one. 1/4 inch strip one side, 1/4 inch strip of lead the other side, where the first share hold goes. So essentially, the first main on each of the extreme sides. All the way across, guys, just like that. What else did I do? I strung it at 61 pounds, head Hawk Touch 16 gauge, and I also power padded it. I changed the grip, so I stripped it all the way down. This is a 4 1/4. I put a Hydrozor Pro underneath, and then I put a head over grip on it. All right, so let's see if we get Sinner specs. Okay, I haven't tested this yet, and literally, I waited for you guys. I probably shouldn't have done that, but, here's the reveal. If I fail, I fail. What am I supposed to be at, guys? If you guys have been studying, including my video and everybody else's on the world, right? It's supposed to be 325. Well, it's 325. And some people say it's like 328. So 325 to 328, you're in the ballpark. But most of the time, I've seen 325. And 325 we have. The balance should be 33. Or as I say, 330. Oh, am I there? Ooh. Can I give myself 330? Let's see. Let's see if I move it too much. Oh. 329 and a half? 320, yeah. I say 329 and a half. Close. 32.9 if you're calculating. But that's darn close. Now, the final thing, the swing weight. If you guys have seen, it's about 340. So there's got some good mass coming through this racket. All right, let's take a look here. We're going to get 340. $339. I say we're close enough, aren't we? Right? We're within hair of Sinner's racket. All right, so in retail old stock, this is called the Speed MP from Head, graphene from, I want to say 10 to 12 years ago. If you have a direct line to Head, you say, can I have the TGT 301.4? Only Head people are going to know what that is, though, okay? Yeah. And because that's what the mold is. And then you tell them, can I have it custom to Sinner specs? So it gets molded, painted, and it won't be painted like this. It'll be painted like the new version. Hand it off to somebody, and they're going to do exactly what I did to it. But the numbers almost work out, right? Like I'm literally so close. But how will it play? Will it play like a Sinner Pro stock? Well, that's what we're going to do next. Stay tuned. All right, Coach Q?
Yes.
If I told you just played with Sinner's racket, would you believe me?
Yeah, a little bit. It did remind me of Sinner's Racket a little bit. The one that we played before, it kind of reminded me of that. Yeah, I think it's suspects in a way because of looking at what happened. Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, so all I did was my buddy Matt had this racket. He pulled it out of his garage, and I was like, "Are you using that?" He's like, "Why?" I was like, "Because you got Sinner's mold." I was like, "Can I borrow it and then string it like Sinner, weigh it up like Sinner, do the power pads and grip it like Sinner?" He's like, "Go for it." So I produced this, and from the specs that I literally just tested, I'm like a millimeter to Sinner spec.
Yeah,
a millimeter.
Which is fine. I mean, it's close enough because we're doing this, on our own.
Right, of course.
But yeah, it's close enough. It does play like it. I mean, the head transfer. I mean, know his forehand and his strokes. It's really powerful, and you can see why, especially because of the weight of the head guard. Like you can see how much weight he puts there. I mean, there's a ton of weight on the head. So when you're firing this thing, there is no fight back. You're swinging all the way through. And the funny part is with this much head weight, you think you lose control. You actually don't lose that much control. You actually still get the control you need and the feel behind it, because with this type of head, when you're swinging and you hit the sweet spot, you really feel the sweet spot, right? So it will launch. Even when you hit it slightly off, it does give you some leeway to make some space.
Yeah, that extra weight will give you an extra, like a longer sweet spot. Even if you hit a miss hit,
it still go through. I think what people tend to forget is those guys. There's a reason why they have so short, very compact swings now, because a lot of it is due to the racket because there's so much weight on it. They can't take it so far back. They have to keep it within range, so when they fire it, they can fire it off the bat. But yeah, I mean, it really reminds me of that racket that we played with last time. But yeah, good job, Harry. Brought it really close to it. Not too bad.
Well, that mold told me everything. That's why. So I was like, let me try to recreate it with this. And it does feel like Sinner's racket. I was shocked. You let it go, and it just kind of helps you when it's 61 pounds.
Yeah, it's tight. It reminded me when I was back in the junior days playing with the Babylon racket. So
Right.
it's tight.
But it
yeah.
wasn't horribly tight.
No, I think the reason why you put it that tight is because he can get a little more control. If you had that much head weight, I think you need a little more control in your string bed. So I can see why he will go higher on the tension there. Because if it's a looser one, it might go a little long.
Plus, I feel Hawk Touch is a little on the softer side anyway.
That's
so
true.
It absorbs it.
Quite often, yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I mean, if you said this was Sinner's racket, I'd probably believe you.
It's pretty darn close. Yeah, it really reminds me of it. It's darn close to it.
Ending it with Matt. All right, Coach Goo, thank you for the play test.
Of course.
Where can we find you?
You can find me at ag.tennis. Also be posting content there as well.
All right, so I have the owner, whoa, crap, of the racket itself. So I took your racket maybe a month or 3 weeks ago and modified it to the Jannick Sinner specs. This is the first time you've tried it now. I've just watched you play a couple sets with it, and you didn't put it down, you didn't go to your racket. What did you think when you first tried it up until you finished your 2 sets?
I think the first thing that I noticed was like the ease of like smoothness of my swing.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really played with rackets with lead tape, like Harry put the lead tape at the top of the racket. And I could really feel that with the swing, like the racket was kind of carrying through to completion with the follow through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've struggled in the past. And along with that, I felt like when I got the ball in and around the sweet spot, it was a lot of effortless power and a lot of control where like I was able to redirect balls a little bit more easily than I typically will. And that gave me the confidence to really kind of hit that open stance backhand, go up the line, but also know that I've got control and I'm not going to push it deep.
Got it. Did you win the 2 sets?
Won the first one, lost the second one.
Oh, what happened in the second?
Second one, we went to a tiebreaker, and we'll call it a little bit of fatigue setting in from a long week of practice, but it was really good. I think another thing that was really surprising to me was on my serve, that I was able to like pinpoint my spots a little bit more easy, where especially with the wind today, it was moving my ball toss, but I felt like I was still able to swing my normal swing and place the ball where I wanted to.
Oh, great. Now, I strung this at 61 pounds, which I never do for anyone. But I feel like this string feels like it's softer than that, though.
Yeah, and I think that's where the power that was I was able to get was coming from, because I typically play with Luxlong Big Banger.
Mm-hmm.
And you could tell that like the ball was almost sitting on the face of the strings a little bit longer.
Right.
But I think that's where like that control and like the ability to kind of redirect where I needed it to go.
Right.
Especially playing a player like Jacques, who is a serve and volleyer.
Right.
Where you really kind of have to strike early on that return, or else he's at the net, and if it's not a precise shot, it's you're going to have a tough day at the office.
Right. Now, would you continue to play with it like this?
Yeah, definitely. I think another thing that was super interesting was I typically play with a shock absorber. Mm-hmm. And so other scenarios where I play with a racket without one, I don't like it. I can feel the vibration. But with this, it just kind of felt the same. Oh. But it also, you could kind of hear a little bit difference in the sound. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that was like really fun, because you kind of feel like you're a pro playing, because you're like, how did they get that sound? And I think that may have been kind of a contributing factor. So I thought that was going to be something that would have played a little bit of mind games, was like that vibration, feeling, and difference of sound.
Mm-hmm.
But if anything, I almost liked it more, felt more natural.
I don't know if you noticed, but there are power pads here.
Yeah, and that's the first time I've ever played with a racket like that with those. So I had no idea what to expect, but it felt like the proper amount, like, you know, with whatever normal shock absorber that I use.
So that was negating a little bit of the sound and absorbing the vibration a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's super interesting. Yeah, I think I'll have you put them on my rackets in the future if you've got a few extra line.
What have I created? Darn it.
Exactly. Yeah, because I typically don't focus too much on like racket modifications. So this was a fun exercise to be able to like understand what that is like and how it translates onto the court.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm glad I took the racket from you. I'm glad you allowed me to modify it to Sinner specs, and I'm glad you liked it, actually. Will you continue to ask me to do this? Or
Totally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
great,
so.
monster.
Until it starts to give me arm problems, I think you're the mad scientist for the job.
Oh, thank you so much, Matt, and thank you for allowing me to do that.
No problem at all. I'm glad to be able to be a part of uncovering part of the mystery that is the professional game.
All right. So, guys, I want to thank Matt again for allowing me to do this to his racket. I think I've created a monster, but that's okay. We're going to keep tennis fun for everyone. Guys, thank you for watching Tennis Spin, where we put our spin on your tennis.